All right, well, I want to do a series on ways to increase your intensity during your workouts. The first thing you need to consider is are you using enough intensity as far as load? So that's the first way. Increase your load, increase the amount of weight that you're using on the machine or the bar, etc., during your quote unquote work sets. So work sets would be considered things that are you regard as profitable, something that's like 3 reps in reserve away from failure. So it's valuable if it's close to failure. And if we're talking hypertrophy, it would be anywhere from 5 reps all the way, research has shown, up to 30 repetitions. So um, if it's, to give you an idea, if it's sets of 10, if you're hitting sets of 10 and that last one of your sets of 10 is like, man, maybe I could do one more, possibly. The bar's moving really slow. Well, uh, that would be considered a valuable set. I'd count that as a set. And if you need to move the weight um, up from there, you're not going to be able to get 10. So that's something to keep in mind. Are you using heavy enough weight? The next one, I would say, not in order of importance, but just in consideration, would be something like time under tension. Is your repetition speed too fast where you're not getting as much out of the movement? Now you have to split that up. So if we're talking bodybuilding, then your repetition speed or that time under tension should be considered um, pretty valuable because one, that's going to increase your mind and muscle connection. Um, the eccentric portion or the lowering portion, the extending of the angle portion of that movement um, is pretty darn valuable because that's considered something that quote unquote breaks down the muscle more, the eccentric. There's a lot of what's called muscle shearing. So you're not really proven by science yet, but they think it's breaking down of the actin and myosin fibers inside the muscle, and that leads to rebuilding of more muscle. Okay, so anywhere from a controlled eccentric to a 2 to 3 second, maybe even a 4 second extension of that. So like a bicep curl, you pull the bar up and then spend anywhere from 2 to 4 seconds lowering that bar. So that'll help you get your brain in the muscle, but it will also help you get more of a metabolic fatigue going. Remember, we talked about the 3 M's way back when. Um, there's that tension, that metabolic fatigue, and that muscular damage. Those are the 3 M's. So if you're considering whether you're using that weight in a valuable way for bodybuilding, yeah, you should consider putting your brain in the muscle, lowering it a little bit slower, and kind of getting into the movement. Put your brain in there and feel that extension and slow that weight down. Now, if it's strength training, it's totally different. All you're about is moving the bar efficiently and legally. Let's say for bench press, the bar is unracked. The bar travels the bar path down under control. You pause, and when they say press, you press. Doesn't matter how fast or slow it moves up, you press. And then they say rack again. So um, you've got to consider which focus you have. If it's strength training, again, like it's not necessarily the time it takes you to do the exercise or that one repetition. You just have to make sure it's efficient. Okay. So things that you can do to increase your intensity as far as rest time, um, for sure, it's more intense if you take less time. You push your metabolic fatigue up. You're also increasing your exercise capacity or the amount of how in shape, quote unquote, you are to be able to handle sets that are compressed together. So that's important too. Um, let's say that you're used to doing um, 4 sets of 10 on the preacher curl for biceps. Well, if you're taking 2 minutes off in between each, or 2.5 minutes off in between each, and you can press it down to, slowly but surely over a couple of weeks, 1.5 minutes to a minute, you're going to increase your capacity for work. You might even be able to handle another set because you're asking your body to adapt metabolically and do more work in less time. So that's important too. But that's an exercise intensity mimetic that you can use to force your body into an adaptation. So more work, less time. So, and really, the last one would be possibly doing something like supersets or MyoSets or rest pause sets. So a superset would be something like take bench press, and let's say you're doing dumbbell bench press and you're supersetting that with a T-bar row. Opposite muscle groups, pretty much uninvolved muscle groups. So you have a push and a pull together. That's one way to superset. Or going from a bicep curl to a tricep extension. That's another way to do a superset. Or you can do things like giant sets, where you take 3 similar exercises and smash them together as a way to drive up intensity. So let's say something like, I'm going to do an overhead press first for my shoulders. Then I'm going to do a lateral raise for my medial deltoid to get that barn door look, wide shoulders. And then I finish it off with a wide upright row, like a snatch grip upright row. Those 3 exercises without rest, smashed together, is a great way to drive up intensity. Now, you can't do this all the time. You'll get burnt, pretty crispy. But it is a way to pepper in there to get your intensity up. And the last way, possibly, that you could drive up intensity, which is one of my favorites, is called MyoSets. So set a repetition goal, let's say for a preacher curl. And let's say I do my first working set and I get 10, maybe with possibly 1 rep in reserve. All right, there's my mark, 10. Well, maybe my next set, after a little bit of rest, let's say 1.5 minutes rest, because that's my rest scheme, I go and do 8. Well, I do 8, and then I pause for 5 to 10 seconds, and I see if I can squeak out 2 more repetitions to get to my 10. All right, I rest 1.5 minutes, and maybe the next set I only get 7. But I know after 5 to 10 seconds, I want to see if I can squeak out another 3. And I do. I squeak out another 3. Maybe for my 4th set, I only hit like 5 because I'm totally toast. Well, I'm going to try and squeak out another 5 after about 10 seconds. So I set that rep goal, and then I see if I can match that rep goal by giving myself a little bit of rest, pause, and regroup to finish my set goal. So hopefully you enjoy that. Like and subscribe. Appreciate it. And if you have any questions or comments, put them down below. Peace out. Oh, by the way, get intense every now and then. It is okay to do that. In fact, I recommend it highly.